Hi, this is Melanie of Pardesi Reviews, and I'm joined with Kathy of the Cinema podcast, Cinema podcast. Yeah,
I know. Here we are. We're just a little frazzled from seeing Kalki. We're like,
we're going to talk about Kalki today. This is going to be a spoiler-filled discussion. The review that I posted was as spoiler-free as I could make it because I saw it the first day and I didn't want to spoil any of the delightful Easter egg moments that were in the film. But now it's been out for a few days. So if you haven't gotten to see it yet, what is your problem?
Exactly. Why are you waiting? I saw it Saturday, so I did ruin a few of the Easter eggs, mostly the cameos, but tried not to do too much of that. So here we are. Now we can do it.
I said, people were like, you could have said, because they've already said it on Twitter or whatever and thanking people. I'm like, okay, but I wasn't aware of all of that when I was recording the night after I just saw it. So I was like, okay, I'm just going to try to hold it back. Hold it back.
Right. We're trying. We're looking out for you guys. We didn't want to ruin the surprises.
This is one I tweeted out. When I was retweeting my review, I said it's so awesome when a movie lives up to the hype, because I think for this year, this is one of the biggest hyped movies. First of all, it's Prabhas coming back to the screen for me, the director Nag Ashwin, but you've got Amitabh, you've got Deepika, you've got Kamal Hassan, all in the same freaking movie, right? And it's sci-fi. People balked at me saying it's Indian mythology matched with sci-fi. They're like, it's our history. I'm like, okay, all right. Like, I wasn't the only one using that term. And to be honest with you, I would say, for instance, Noah from the Christian and Hebrew Bibles, also mythology. So okay, it's not that I would not use the same terminology for my religion of birth and and whatever. So it's not meant to be disparaging, but just saying there was familiar elements that people knew going in, right? Yeah. Who, that I had to educate myself on a little bit, like that there is an incarnation of Vishnu yet to come. And that's what is the subject of this movie. So like the title, for instance, didn't immediately give me that, but for other people, they immediately knew, this is what this is going to be about. Exactly. So what were your initial impressions? Because you had to wait a couple of days and try to avoid spoilers and everything.
I was trying not to. I watched your review because I knew it would be safe. So I did watch that. So I saw it on Saturday instead of Thursday. It was a pretty full theater, and I went to one of the earlier shows, not the evening show. So I was glad to see that. And it was cool to hear people laughing and responding to what I knew were cameos too. And I was like, I get it. I had watched B&B before I went like a week or two ago, so I didn't quite remember all of the details. Some of the 4-story details, I kind of basically forgot everything when I went in there. But it was really impressive to see the level of production quality in this movie. Like and I know that they're being compared to Hollywood and all, but we kind of set a standard for like superhero sci-fi big production movies that I think they really attained, if not surpassed, in many ways. So I was very, very impressed by how clean and seamless a lot of those special effects were. So I was blown away by that, and just gorgeous filmmaking.
Yeah. There was a little controversy when the second trailer came out a week or so before the film came out, that there was a particular digital artwork that a Korean artist said was copied from, but then it was such a blip basically on the screen. It wasn't something that resonated, I don't know. It was just one particular moment. I'm not familiar with this Korean artist's work. He's worked on big Hollywood films, but I'm just saying, I don't know if it continued, it was like Prabhas's kind of metal robot suit, And so, I don't know if there was further parts because I'm not familiar with his work. I just saw the screenshot that he had posted that was in our news articles. So that didn't take me out because there was so much original concepts, original visuals, that yes, you can see influences, especially of Hollywood sci-fi, a little bit of Dune, a little bit of this, a little bit of Hunger Games, a little bit of whatever,
I'll take it.
Right? But yet all mixed up in a blender too, in Nagashwan's imagination, to make something truly different than I've ever seen before.
Yeah.
And mad respect for this director of having this vision and creating it. And the crazy thing is, I don't think you and I have watched Mahanati. I've mentioned it to you.
Right. Yeah, I need to do that.
But it's a period film. Okay, so it's diametrically opposite from this in every way.
Yeah.
Okay. But some of the cameos were people that he had worked with in Mahanati, who then he gave special little cameos to.
Right.
I didn't catch it, but I guess Kirti Suresh, who was the star of Mahanati, has some sort of voiceover part that I don't know what that was. No. But Dokar, who plays the bigamist husband in Mahanati, he has maybe the best cameo or the longest cameo as the kind of adopted father of Prabhas's character. And I think I saw you tweet out, we want to know more about that story. What was the deal with Captain, right?
He totally, I thought he was so good. That little tiny segment was so good that I didn't want it to stop. I wanted to see more. I wanted to see what was his deal. How did it start? Why did he get here? What happened after? I felt like that was such a strong storyline that I hope in the next universe that they cast that story. I want to see his storyline, his mythology, because that was it felt really grounded. It felt kind of, God, what's his name? What's the Star Wars spinoff with the Mexican actor? Aldor. Right?
Andor. Yeah.
It reminded me a lot of Andor, where I feel like it was for adults. It was finally Star Wars kind of made something for adults that was smart and gritty and felt really real, and they had some great actors. That's how I felt about this guy. He comes in and kind of took over for a second. And I thought, this is great. And it wasn't the rest of the movie wasn't great. It was just this to me is the seed of a great new story that they can tell. And I hope they do.
Absolutely. I had one of my viewers comment that not only is there going to be a sequel, but they're thinking of this as a universe that they've created, that there could be multiple movies. Good. I don't, I'm not reading the Telugu press. I don't know. So I would love to know from our viewers, what have you been reading? What kind of interviews have been coming out since the movie released? Obviously, it's done so extremely well that the sequel is assured. Yeah. But how much more, right? Because I completely want to live in this world, and I'd be happy to have multiple movies in this world, because they did leave us on it was a lot of setup. Yeah. Okay, we're done.
I know. The complex still stands. We still have Kamal-san is still there and better than ever. So I feel like we kind of went, here's your your pre, prep, what would we call it? I don't know. I'm having trouble.
Prequel, whatever. Yeah,
setup. Like you're saying, it's all here's the beginning, then we'll tell the story of the next movie. You're like,
right. I mean, it's a little bit maybe about the first Fellowship of the Ring, where we're not even really into the story yet, right? Yeah. We're setting the stage with all these characters. We're learning who they are. We're learning the world. And, we lost some characters along the way. Okay. I'm not saying nothing happened, but I'm just saying as far as big, the confrontations, Prabhas and Deepika barely shared screen time together. Right. Yeah. So there's so much more they've kind of set up. What is their dynamic going to be? Right. What, that's just, we just saw the tiniest beginning. Okay. But I'm quibbling and saying sounding like I wasn't satisfied. I was still very satisfied. Oh, yeah. I was and I was satisfied to have paid the IMAX theater price to see this film, because it was definitely IMAX worthy.
It was definitely worth it.
And, what I enjoyed the most, the cameos were delightful. Oh my God, let's talk about Rajamouli.
Oh my God. Not only was it a cameo, it was a meta moment that was just so perfect. And I love the way they did it, where they're in two different cars racing next to each other, yelling at each other. was hilarious. It was so good.
You trapped me for 5 years. Next time it'll be 10.
Because I like the new shaved head or whatever. It's just hilarious. Like I was like, this is hilarious, and I loved it because we were brought in. Not only did it work just on the story level, just being kind of funny, and they clearly knew each other from something we didn't know why. I love that if you knew the story, you understand, like, you know, that Rajamouli had made the Bahubali, that
Yes.
he basically captured Prabhas for 5 years to make these movies. And so that was just a great little moment that was kind of a nod to the fans, a nod to Telugu cinema. Like, it was just a great little affectionate cameo that I really liked. It was
right. I mean, I think even if people were watching the film in Hindi, Rajamouli has been so visible that people still might know who he is and get, because definitely my crowd all knew who he was, and we were just
there was eruption.
Like the just an eruption when they saw his face, and the joke was so good. Like, oh my gosh!
And it was right on the heels of finding out he's now been welcomed into the Oscars, you know, the Academy.
Yeah,
so he can start voting for Oscars, which I think is very cool.
Yes.
So that's like the next level of awareness of who this guy is, you know.
And his wife as well.
I love that. So good.
So that was a really special moment.
It was.
So Vijay Devarakonda again had a supporting role in Mahana T. He wasn't one of the main leads, but he was a supporting role. And so I heard rumors that he was going to have a cameo. And then it was one of our Mahabharata flashbacks where he's Arjun, you know,
he looked
amazing.
I was like,
oh my God,
is this AI or is this just the most perfect man I've ever seen right now? It was like,
I'm like, whoa.
He was
okay. And then how about how funny it is? He played Arjun. What is his biggest film? Arjun Reddy. Like, come on.
Exactly. Like, well, he's the worst person imaginable.
Oh my God. I mean,
it's so funny. I know. I love that. And that made it fun too, because you're seeing, I feel like there were a lot of cinematic winks in this movie. And it was like, whether it was the look like Mad Max or, you know, whoever we were kind of, you know, nodding to the actors in previous roles or directors who were making, I liked that they kind of incorporated all that in a really smart way, that it wasn't just as simple, like, oh yeah, this is just this actor we know of doing this. It's like, this is an actor who's kind of notorious for certain roles. I love that he was made out to be this, you know, one of the big god-like heroes, you know, and he looked amazing. I mean, that was great. And he was in the same scenes with Amitabh and his de-aging, which looked actually very good. Like, I was like, I mean, not bad.
It looked very good, and it looked actually kind of like his son, Abhishek. So, which I mean, was fitting as well. So,
true.
I felt like, because it could have looked really fakey doing all that de-aging, and it was really pretty good.
It was.
So you know, like, I am not the world's expert on the Mahabharata, but I felt like those flashbacks worked and really ground, even if you know nothing.
Yes,
it grounded you into his flashbacks. But oh my gosh, the whole look of Amitabh, very Gandalf, very you know, oh my God, the whole thing was so awesome.
It was.
The man is 81 years old. Okay, now we know there were plenty of stunt people, whatever.
Yes.
But whoever said, let's make him 8 feet tall. He's already super tall in the industry and towers over everyone.
Exactly.
But let's make him 8 feet tall.
Which almost felt like another joke. That he's not he's taller than me, everyone. We're going to make him even taller. And they did such a good job of it. Like, I was watching that thinking, you don't even see like the weird tricks that betray that kind of, I mean, he was only 8 feet tall, not like he was huge giant, but it's so hard to pull that off in a natural way. And they really did a great job just in little incidental moments that I kept forgetting. Oh yeah, he's actually not in the scene probably. It's like, he's like stripped in later, you know, like it was so well done. And even he's just standing in the background, you're getting that height difference, and the way they shot, you know, the camera angle down or the camera angle up, like wherever they needed it to be, just in a non, it's the kind of idea where you're not looking for the effect, and you also need to realize, oh God, I totally forgot this was even an effect. You know, it's like, it's so well done.
Yeah, so it was crazy good. Some of my favorite parts were the fights between Prabhas and Amitabh. And Amitabh, okay, so I couldn't really say so much about this in my spoiler free, but Amitabh wiping the freaking floor with Prabhas. Like,
I mean, he's been around a while. So he knows how to fight. I love he goes into, like, you know, Prabhas is always like so cocky, like, I got this. And he's like, oh, hold on a minute. What's up with this? He kept thinking he beat him, and he always come back. And I thought the chain gag was really clever. Like when he was
Yes.
like stretched between the chains, that was really smart. Like how the staging in this was just spectacular. Even like they weren't even just like throw this guy off. It was like they usually holding up 10 guys, just standing there holding 10 guys on their heads and then throwing them and making it look real. It's like craziness. It was just
some of the
crazy.
action was really inventive. Yeah. And some people could argue that those scenes went on too long, but I enjoyed every second.
I was fine with it.
That's just the way I'm built. I was just like, this is Prabhas and this is Amitabh, and they're going at it. I'm like,
and I liked. I do have a few quibbles about some editing choices of like taking us out of action and jumping around in time a little bit and taking us some incidental, like, why are we here? Like, but overall, I really like Prabhas and his chemistry with not only the AI person, which was hilarious, but his little sidekick, his fan, which I wish they kind of utilized more. Like, I feel like he was always just kind of there, but he didn't have his big. I feel like they could have used more hero moments for him because he was the big fan. He would know everything, So I feel like I would like to see him more, which might happen. They might flesh him out more because I thought he was great. And also that main scoundrel or rascal, the main bad guy with the eye. Who the hell is that? He was right. He stole the movie. I mean, good.
Okay, you know what? I should have prepared for this because I didn't look him up because I do feel like I must have seen him.
We have to have. He's just way too good not to have been seen before. It's like, what the hell?
Like there were a lot of fresh to me faces in this movie, as well as, obviously the big names that we already know. And I'll be honest with you, like you and I were doing reactions to the trailers.
Yes.
And I didn't really focus on Shobana being in this film. Like, yes, when I went back to look, she was in the trailer. But as I mentioned in my review, my mom had surgery this month. It's just been kind of chaotic. I really couldn't do the deep research on this that I wanted to, or deep thinking. And I was so pleasantly surprised that she had such a prominent role. It was not just a wink and you miss her. She's just there for in the background. No, she had whatever you call that, Yuri or whatever, that the metal whip thing that was like laser whip.
Their version of the lightsaber. Are you kidding me? It was like their version of the lightsaber. I'm like, this is way better than a lightsaber. It looks cooler and does cooler stuff. I really like that.
Mean, it was so epic. Like at first she got to be, like this priestess, whatever, leader. And then she gets to have that fight sequence.
What is happening? I know. So good. I mean, my God. I love that. So great. And, I wish that Deepika had a little bit more to do. I feel like she's basically just kind of a pregnant woman who's just being taken care of. And she's really good. And I thought that moment where she's going to walk through the fire would be her big moment. But then they kind of went back to just protecting her or shuffling her around from place to place. A little bit more from her, but maybe that's also, again, her setup for the next thing. But it was a little bit frustrating to see that.
It was super frustrating.
Yeah.
And that was one of the things that I told friends about it, that, I'm not going to say that Nag Ashwin didn't put strong women characters in this film, because he did.
Yeah.
But I don't know if it was sort of setting up, that she is this... the mother of the goddess, and she has that whole conversation with Amitabh of why she was pointing the gun at the bad guy and yet she couldn't do anything.
Yeah.
And then he's like, well, your role is to be a savior and not, whatever the line was, like you're not supposed to kill anybody. I'm like, well, okay.
I hated that line.
I'm like,
and I like how she kind of even rolled her eyes like, walked out on him.
Yeah. So yes, super disappointing, because obviously, have we seen Deepika be a badass in many action films? Yes, we have. For her to just be cowering through most of the film was extremely frustrating. The best part was kind of at the beginning when she was plotting her escape and she was in the complex, in the lab, and I don't know, just felt like, because she was more of an active participant rather than just, like you say, being saved all the a damsel in distress being saved all the time.
Yes.
So that brings us, the one saving grace with Nagash, when I was like, okay, you did that to Deepika, but I did not know. I mean, I guess if you were in, India, you would see posters with the Kira character played by Annabeth. I don't know if I even saw her in any of the trailers. I had no idea that she was going to be in the movie. Yeah. And then when she was in all of those action sequences, I was like, oh my God, that's Anna Ben. Like, I know her from Malayalam cinema. She's one of my favorite young actresses there. And like, you're saying that bad guy stole the movie. To me, on the hero side, she stole the movie. Yep. Because all the time, you know, Dippick is just like, what? And meanwhile, Anna Ben is like, let me just handle this and jump onto my fold up land speeder thing. Like,
exactly. Awesome. You know, and also you have to say, like, they made this big point of her doing all this crazy stuff. They land in the moment where she says, I told you I was lucky. And then the next moment literally is her going, bye, and then she gets a bad guy and blows up, right? So I'm like, we didn't see the body. He survived. And I'm like, I wanted to see her come back in the end and go, told you I was lucky. Like, I feel like there's more to her. I didn't see her die. I don't believe she died. So I was kind of disappointed they didn't kind of bring that back around, because it would have been a great, because we'd already kind of gone, shit. And when they started showing someone coming up out of the sand, I'm like, oh, she is alive. And then, oh, it's him? Well, how did he survive? So I'm hoping she comes back, because she was way too good to waste on one movie. Come on.
Oh my God, she was awesome. And I've never seen her do anything like that. So it was
so fun.
Doubly, triply awesome.
And that was a woman doing it, made extra fun. You know, you could totally see this being in Star Wars, and there'd be a bunch of guys jumping on these bikes. She did such a great job. And she was so cute about it, like cute and strong, kind of cocky, that I liked it. She wasn't like superhero strong. She was like, she's lucky. Let me ask you this, speaking of women. So we have Roxy, who is this hilarious character, this hilarious strong woman character. That was the weirdest sequence in the entire movie that felt like, was this shot at another time and then stuck in? Because it made no sense. Like, she appears, they kind of have a thing, they go to the complex, oddly, just get in, then they're in because she's working there and he gets an hour there or whatever. They go to all these incredible places. We get to see the inside of the complex, which I guess was servicing this. Then we spent a lot of time on this party at a mansion. And then that was to
get the song in, basically. Yes, we needed to see the inside of the complex.
Yes, we see that. And then throughout it, like, her costume changes for no explicable reason.
But that's the way it happens in every Bollywood Indian film where there's a song sequence.
Yes,
they just randomly change costumes.
Her outfit was so similar. It was basically the same outfit, but it was darker silver and a little bit longer versus shorter and lighter. It was a weird change. And then they just kind of go away. She disappears, never see her again, done. And then, like, and I was even wondering, like, did that even happen? Like, is this just his fantasy? Because he kept talking about he wanted to be in there. I could not tell if that actually happened. Weird. Okay. And then it just disappeared. Done.
Right. I mean, they've kind of set up Prabhas's characters to be kind of a Han Solo character, the kind of guy that could be playing both sides, whatever. He's not the obvious hero from the beginning,
which I loved. It was great.
You know, I mean, Han shot first. Come on. Okay. But I agree with you. I didn't love his introduction scene. I felt like it didn't quite come off for me. As big of a Prabhas fan as I am, I was just kind of like, you know, and I agree with you. The whole thing with Roxy was just weird. It was just weird. And it just didn't quite, because like you say, she just disappeared.
She's gone? That's it?
Like, what? Did she get in trouble too? Like, what
happened there? It's just weird. Like, he gets thrown out. And I guess that's what brings him his big life-changing thing. Like, I need to reset. I'm never getting in the complex again. Like, that was kind of his reset. And then he instantly jumps back to, oh, now I can get this huge band and get in. Wait, I thought you just had a whole life change and not wanting to get in the complex. What is this about? So it just seemed a little bit of strangeness, but that's like quibbling, because I could see what they were trying to do with the story. They wanted, like you said, want to have the big songs, the big glossiness. We want to see the inside of complex. I'm dying to see it. We finally get to see it.
Right.
And that brings me to my other point of, like, I wasn't sure who I was supposed to be rooting for in this movie, because my loyalties are with Prabhas, of course, but he was kind of the bad guy. He was trying to catch her. So in a way, he was against our interests in keeping Deepika safe, right? Then we have Kamal Hassan's character, who is like the evil empire, but at the same time, he was preserving parts of the earth, like nature, water, air, from the rest of the world that has been destroyed. So in a weird way, it was like, wait, I know he's draining the resources, but the resources have been destroyed, and he's the only thing left keeping these things alive, animals, plants, blah. I was very confused. What's sure. And they have the rebel. I mean, I know who they were kind of positing as a bad guy because he was creepy and gross looking, and he was killing pregnant women. But it was. I feel like they did not make it clear enough. I mean, we're very clear in Star Wars. Darth Vader is the bad guy, right?
The viewers tell us, because I sort of feel like when if you look at the Mahabharata, there's a lot of characters that just have shades of gray, or you could say, okay, they're on the wrong side, but if they were on the right side, would be saying they're a hero, So I think the complexity is baked in, and on one way I hear what you're saying, because it's like, Prabhas is like on a dime switching from like and then he goes through
rent.
and he goes through channeling, the brother of Amitabh, and then he's back. Then he's back evil again, and he's gonna run off with Deepika. So
I was very strange. I know, and I love that he amped everything up and got the whole the ship fixed up, and we're all on his side. The classic scene of almost like Batman, where he's putting the whole thing together, and then he's going against our guy who's protecting Deepika, and we're like, wait, hold on, we can't even enjoy all this great stuff you're doing because we're not on your side. What's happening?
What? Well, yeah, I mean, it's really setting us up for the next film and making us being like, say what now? You better make this right. You better make this right.
Make it right. Make Prabhas have a change of heart more clearly.
Okay, but listen, as many characters that he's played that are so stupidly with no shades of anything,
it's fun to see him. I like what you're saying, Han Solo. It's like he was out for himself, and that's it. He didn't have a side. He was like, whatever serves me. She's a big bounty. I'm getting it. It's like, if it was someone else, I would get that one. So it's like, he was definitely that. But also, I could have done without the comedy music. That was just weird. It felt very out of. I mean, once or twice to have a little doot 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 doot. Like it was just very strange music. We don't need it press hard that hard. We get it. It's funny. It's just like, but I did love the soundtrack. And when they first show the pregnancy pods, my God, it's gorgeous soundtrack. Holy shit!
And then how crazy was it? You may not have recognized it, but when I saw in the opening credits that there was music by Diljit Dosanjh, I'm like, what? So that first sequence that Prabhas said, the music was Diljit Dosanjh, who was the big Punjabi song artist, also a famous actor. But I'm just saying, I was like, whoa, you got Diljit in this? even in the Telugu version? All right.
That's right.
What I'm talking about.
That's right. Oh my God, that's so funny. That's really fun. And I did enjoy those little bookend moments going back into the past and seeing the chariots and the chariots flying through the air with the 6 horses. That was grand. It was so fun and great and polished. But I had a great time in this movie. Definitely a big screen movie. Super loud. I got another one of those warnings on my watch saying, you're in a loud environment. It's like, yeah, no doubt. I know. Everything exploding. I thought Prabhas did a great job kind of treading between superhero and comedy. Like he was clearly kind of winky and, all of his fighting. That was another little weird thing, a little bit slow and casual because he was so confident. I would like to have seen a little more energy expended. Like he just seemed a little like, this is so easy. It's like, no, I want to see it like, but still tiny quibbles for a movie I highly enjoyed.
Well, and it's funny. I didn't watch the complete discussion, but there was a panel discussion with Amitabh, Deepika, Kamal Hassan, and Prabhas. Okay. And then 2 of the producers of the film, women producers. Okay. And so Deepika turns to Prabhas and says, you have a lot of comedy in this. I've never seen you do that. This is new for you. And he's like, yeah, well, I used to be known for that. Right? Because some of my favorite films of Prabhas are, like Mr. Perfect and Darling. Like he's known as Prabhas Darling because of these past comedy rom-com things.
Guitar.
But right. Right. Guitar. So, but as far as a wider pan-Indian audience, they know him from Bahubali on. Right, which is not so much the comedy stuff.
No.
So I did appreciate they were trying to bring some of that humor in, his playoff with our favorite asterisk comedy uncle.
Uncle. I thought it was so funny. Oh my God, that was so funny. There was a lot of reaction to that, showing him the comedy uncle. People kind of went, "Whoa!" You could hear squealing.
Yeah. So I mean, I think sometimes it works, sometimes it didn't work as well, but I appreciate that he was mixing it up a little bit.
Yep.
Because, oh my gosh, some of the movies that he's done has just been deadly serious, never a smile, never even a hint of one line of comedy or anything. So,
no, I very much enjoyed him lightening it up a little bit. It was great. He looked gorgeous. He was funny. He was self-deprecating. He was still badass. You know, it was a great little combo. I think he did a great job.
Right. I mean, and then when he was doing the fight sequences, it was, I mean, you know, it was, it was our guy, right?
Shoes. Charge your shoes.
Oh my God. But I mean, Amitabh, like I know they were doing stunt people, whatever. Okay, but still, holy crap, this guy's 81 years old, and I felt like he brought 150% to this movie.
Oh yeah, so he was having a blast. You could tell he was like, I'm doing this.
So in this panel discussion, he is marveling at all the modern filmmaking techniques and the greens. I'm obviously green screen and whatever. And even being able to see himself on a monitor after a take. He's like, you don't realize in Cholet, we're doing close-ups like this to the camera, and we never could see it until the movie came out on opening night.
I hope that was good.
Didn't even know how things, you know, and so it's like they were literally talking about Cholet and just, this man has been part of Indian cinema for decades, and he is just, and he gets to do something new, right? Like he got to learn new things, and he was excited about how it still was telling a great story, but all the ways of telling that story were so new to him. And I love that. I mean, yes, he's done really interesting films in the last decade, but I'm just saying for him to get to do something new and exciting at 81 years old is pretty great.
This is next level, definitely. And, you know, it must be fun for actors because, you know, a lot of that was probably green screen and they're reacting to things that aren't there. And, you know, it must be fun to have them, you know, they walk away like a year or so later, like, well, I guess the movie's done. Let's take a look. And they're like, wow, that's so cool. You know, not knowing what they were going to see. I love that. It must be fun.
Right. Yeah. I mean, Kamal Hassan, we didn't get a ton, but oh my gosh, the screen presence that man has is not to be denied, right? Like
that was just an insane, just the whole design of that environment and the effects in that scene and the little, like I was talking about my review, that little thing that turned into a sea and went, such a great idea. It was just so cool. So he had that gorgeous set design that I just loved. It was like,
let's give a shout out to the production design of this.
Seriously,
movie.
They just nailed it. Oh my gosh.
Every which way. Like, I mean, like you say, we had the flashbacks, Mahabharata, very cool chariot scenes, whatever. Okay, still, they looked all awesome. But then to be like, okay, this is the future. But we've seen the future in so many films, like to make it fresh, to make it different, to make it something I haven't seen before.
Yes. I mean,
it was amazing. Especially like you say, his lair was.
I love the lair, and I like that it's all their water everywhere. Like just such a like, it's almost like little like to the people down in the desert with no water. It's like we just have water on the floor here. This is how well we live. You know, it's just water everywhere. It's like, oh my god. And he's just like, I sit in the water. So it's like that was really funny.
I float in water. I do whatever the hell I want.
Hey, when he got that essence. And he totally bulked up and looked like Salman Khan. I mean, what is happening right now? It's like, boom, boom, boom. All of a sudden, he's like got like, you know, the 12 pack and he's super beefy. And I'm like, I don't even recognize this guy now. It's so funny.
It was just awesome after awesome after awesome. Like, I was so delighted to see this movie. This is one of the highlights of the year for me. And you know, I have held my heart in my throat with many a Prabhas film, like, please be good. Please be good.
We're rooting for him.
Because some of them have not, my friends. And you know exactly what I'm talking about.
I'm talking about you, Honey Perez.
And, you know, this one really lived up to the hype. And a lot of, we have to give most of the kudos. I mean, everybody acted well, but we have to give the kudos to this director, Nagashran, because he's the one that conceived of this idea, this massive idea. And I guess this project was 4 years in coming. Like, I don't know if that 4 years includes, we did a little filming for part 2. I don't know. Okay. But to pull in all of these people in one freaking film, and evidently like Kamal Hassan was one of the last gets. And, you know, the producers were like, we have to have the right person for this role. And so, you know, I mean, 4 years, like they had filmed a lot of other parts because obviously everything,
Yeah.
you know, his part could be quite separate from everything else.
That's true.
But yeah, I mean, it was a late get. I think he had other things to show Kamala, like this is what we're going for. This is what it's going to be like, to get him to agree to do it. And thank God, because it's hard for me to really imagine anyone else having that presence, like the creep factor, like he just completely went for it, you know,
especially considering how much special effects was laid into him. I mean, he probably filmed that all in like a studio on the side somewhere, and then they built it around him and then did a lot of CGI on him. So I mean, and he didn't even interact with a lot of the actors there. He could have done all of that by himself. Like, and they might have been scheduling. They're like, we can do all of your stuff here by yourself and we can make it look like it's with them. We don't even know how many people actually interacted, except that poor sap who got the American scientist or British scientist. Idiot. So it's like we had that point, but at that point it felt like almost all CGI at that point, because he was kind of amped up a little bit, but they did. I mean, that's another fun thing. Like, here comes Kamo-san. He's in the studio, probably pure green screen, nothing else. They probably showed him some sketches of like what it was going to look like, and he's like, okay, does it, and he's like, day's over, I guess I'm going home. And then the next thing he knows, he's this coolest thing in the movie. It's like crazy. I love that.
Oh my gosh. Well, I love this film, and I'm so excited to see what will come next. Like,
I want to see the Delker Salmon version. I want to see that story. Please, you guys.
I mean, if it's a whole universe, I'm sure it's going to be going forward, but maybe they have other flashbacks that show what Dulker learned at the hands of the captain that you know, led him on the path that he's on, or whatever. I don't know. Just give it to me, okay? Just
come on, you guys. I want to see Dulker broken, but then also a hero. Come on, it's perfect. Bring it. Just do it. We're asking.
Oh my God.
Let him know. Gosh. Let him know Melanie and Kathy would like you to give him his own movie. DQ needs to be in his own universe.
It was. I just, you know, I came out of it. I was like, I'm just so happy that it was even more than I was hoping it would be.
Yeah, so it really was. It really was.
Don't you have any other comments and anything that we didn't touch on that you wanted to?
Well, I'd say stay through credits. There's like kind of a little midway, kind of little little, you know, post-credit ending-y kind of thing, which is kind of important. Doesn't really give you a ton more, but it kind of insinuates more to come. So stay through the credits. You should stay through credits anyway. Acknowledge the people that made this movie. It worked so hard.
Even the opening credit scene, you know, it was fun how they were kind of propelling us into the story while they were showing all of the you know, the people, the headline people that were involved with the making of this film. So I'm so excited, you know, that Indian cinema, like you said, this is world class. This you can put it up against anything, and this is awesome. And I don't think, you know, the director did these explanation videos, which helped me because I did want to know a deeper knowledge of what his thinking was in creating this world. But I don't think you really necessarily needed that to enjoy this film. I appreciated that viewers and friends sent me those videos to be like, you need to watch this first, and then you'll know. Because when we did our reaction, we're like, we don't know what this movie is about.
What is this thing? It's a lot of crazy stuff.
But I don't think, I mean, I would show this to my husband. And he wouldn't need to necessarily have all that background to enjoy it. Now, hearing Prabhas say, I'm Karna, like, that's not going to mean anything to him. But, you know, but I mean, you know, okay, that's momentous. We're going to find out more next time, right?
And, you know, I think you can enjoy it. Like somebody said, if you just watch it without knowing the background, it's just a big sci-fi movie. I'm like, that's okay with me. I think you're okay just making this like a big Star Wars type spectacle. Like, I didn't know anything about the Dark Star and all that. I watched it, figured stuff out as I went, got the mythology. I think that's okay to watch it this way too. I don't want people to think they have to do homework to see this movie, because you will enjoy it regardless. They do a pretty good job of getting you in there. If you miss some of the subtext or the, you know, the background on the history.
Well, the Google machine exists for you.
You can look it up. You can look up the wiki and find out what it was about.
I mean, it's like you think about, like, I was around for the original Star Wars when I was, a young teenager and being able to watch all of those. But think about all the kids that started with the second round of films, the prequels. Like, they didn't necessarily have to know all the lore to enjoy those films, and then they dug deeper and watched those, right?
Yeah.
So,
and then as each movie came out, it filled in the blanks even more. So then you start getting enmeshed in this entire world building that will then give you more and more depth of understanding, whether it's the history or whatever we're dealing with in the movie. But it doesn't have to be the first movie out of the gate. You don't have to know everything. It's okay.
Right.
You can just enjoy Prabhas and DQ. That's fine. It's fine. Fine.
And Annabelle and Shobana and Amitabh being 8 foot tall and kicking ass, left, right, up, down, sideways,
old,
down.
young, tall, short. I don't know. It all worked.
Oh God, I can't even tell you how much I loved him kicking Prabhas
so
around. It was like,
I know, he was so cute.
All right, thanks for joining us. Obviously, if if you've been watching us before, you need to subscribe to both of our channels. Kathy is on Cinemana Podcast. We do reactions, trailer reactions, film discussions on each other's channels. So you need to subscribe and like and comment and whatever here, but you need to also go over and join the high rank of fans on Kathy's channel of Cinemana Podcast.
There's so much to see. All right. Thanks, you guys.
Bye.
Bye.